Hello, everyone. Welcome to NEBMinistry. I am Prophetess Angie Allen. Please follow, share, and subscribe. So today we're going to talk about Habakkuk. We're going to actually walk through Habakkuk, and I pray that as we take our time with Habakkuk, that this message, as God used me, will be something that you're able to utilize, share with other people, and even gain a greater understanding for your journey. So who is Habakkuk? Habakkuk was a prophet of the late 7th century. His name in Hebrew means embrace. And as we travel through Habakkuk, we're going to understand why his name represents embrace. Habakkuk is known for being one of the 12 minor prophets. You might ask, what's the difference between minor and major? Well, it's because of the amount of information that has been provided. That's what makes the difference. But it doesn't take away Habakkuk being a prophet. And let me park here for a second because I feel like somebody here might need to hear this. Just because that your story or who you are have not been broadcast doesn't mean that what you've been through and the connection and the relationship you have with God is not as powerful as the next person. So when we hear minor and major, it's just because of the information. And that's how sometimes people out in the world get things misconstrued, because what happened is that your story is not long like we hear other people. Your name is not on a billboard, or your name is not being broadcast on news, all these different things. But it doesn't change how powerful and anointed that you are and how God is using you. Because God knows that appointed time when he wants to disclose some things about you. So I just want to let you know, just because we hear minor and major, it doesn't take away the characteristic of who God has called these people to be, who God has called you to be. What is a prophet? A prophet is one called to receive and declare the word from God after being prompted by the Holy Spirit. Prophets were usually called to speak a word concerning the present and the future. Their word could be addressed to nations as well as individuals. God uses prophets to speak of injustice and wickedness in the nation of Israel. This was accomplished not only through verbal means. Sometimes prophets were called to demonstrate their message through physical act. Habakkuk was a prophet. Other known prophets are Moses, Samuel, Elijah, Elijah. Now I'm going to go into the introduction of Habakkuk. The author of this book is Habakkuk, a prophet to the nation of Judah. Habakkuk questioned God on how he could be a God of justice, but seemed to ignore justice. Habakkuk wondered why God would allow the wicked to prosper as it is for us today. You know, sometimes we look at how things have been played out and we see how so many people that does wicked things still prosper. But just know, in the midst of this, our sight is to focus on what God said in his word. And we walk by faith and not by sight. Because at the end of the day, God has a purpose for everything that transpired and take place, as it was in Exodus. What God did with Moses and Pharaoh. Even God himself said he was going to harden Pharaoh's heart, but yet still send Moses out to deliver a word. Because guess what? At the end of the day, there was a purpose behind what God was doing, and he ended up getting the glory from them both. So our job is to walk by faith and not by sight, and focus on so much of what is taking place with everybody else, but to trust what it is that the Lord has said to us. Sometimes we ask the questions while in pain, going through trials and tribulations, the why. Why are you allowing these people who hurt me and get away, Lord? Habakkuk went back and forth in his mind, trying to understand the process of how God allows things to happen. Yet it will still work out for his good. However, at the end, Habakkuk became convinced that no matter what he faced, he was still able to trust God through it all, even when it seemed bleak or confusing. Habakkuk was more unique than any other prophet. What made him unique is that he spoke to God on behalf of the people, whereas most prophets spoke to the people on God's behalf. So we're going to start with chapter 1, and we're going to work our way through, and I want us to take our time. So we're going to start with chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. And the title of this is Habakkuk's Complaint. And as we go through this, I pray that it be a blessing to you, that you're able to grab a hold to some things of what is being said, to be able to have this go with you as you travel through your journey, to be able to utilize the wisdom and knowledge and understanding that God has given us, so that as we face different trials and tribulations, we are able to have something connected to us to know that God is still there in spite of what we see, in spite of what we go through. You know, I'm reminded of the word. It tells us that we walk by faith and not by sight. And the reason being is that our sight is so manipulative. There are so many different things that is out there, and we can't focus on our human natural eyes, but we need to chime in into the spirit realm, utilizing the spiritual sight that God has given us. And if you feel like, man, I don't have spiritual sight, I'm trying to get there. Well, you continue to stay in that place and you keep asking God, can you help me with a spiritual sight? Give me eyes like you, so that as I'm facing things, I can understand why I am going through what I'm going through. Because understand, there's a reason for everything. And sometimes God do want us to just ask him why. Because it gives him the opportunity to explain why he's allowing what we face, we having to go through it the way that we do. Whether if it's to build strength, it's to gain wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. At the same time, so many other different reasons. But knowing the why help us to navigate through the process, through our journey. So please continue to stay in tune with us as we walk through Habakkuk. And we're going to take our time, starting at verse 1. This is a message that the prophet Habakkuk received in a vision. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Violence is everywhere. I cry, but you do not come to save. Must I forever see the evil deeds? Why must I watch all the misery wherever I look? I see destruction and violence. I am surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. The law has become paralyzed, and there is no justice in the court. The wicked for outnumber the righteous, so that justice has become perverted. So how many of us can relate to the complaint that Habakkuk has? I know that I can. There's times where I face situations. I have prayed, I have read, I have did so many different things, trying to stay in the vein of God, trying to be all the best of Angie can be. But yet I still was faced with so many trials and tribulations. Things just kept coming at me. And it's kind of like, God, do you even hear me? I'm crying out to you. I'm telling you that this is a lot. I can't deal with this. And I know that some of you have faced those things or even facing it right now. But I want to prophesy to you on today that you stay in your position of praying. You stay in a position of talking to God just because it may look one way. See, the enemy loves to camouflage things. He likes to make things look worse than what they are. It's like looking through your rear mirror and you begin to see something close, but in reality, it's actually far back. But what I'm saying to you is don't let the enemy cause you to move out of position where God has called you. Habakkuk had complaints, not understanding the plan that's ahead. And I'm saying that to you. We have these complaints, but I want to remind you, although that you may be seeing what you're seeing right now, God is actually have a plan behind the scene. He's moving some things around. He's orchestrating some things. He's shifting you that you don't even know that you're being shifted. Although you may be hearing some things, but I'm telling you right now that you stay in that position with the Lord. You continue to stay focused because God is shifting the way that you hear things. He's shifting the way you are hearing so that you can hear the sound that he hears. You're able to dive in and in tune to where he's taking you in spite of what it looks like, in spite of what it sounds like. I'm I'm telling you that this is your move of a shifting season. The enemy wants you to be stagnated. He wants you to be still and keep showing you, look at this. That's the reason why you ain't moving. Look at this. That person talking about you. Look at this. I need you to hear this conversation. He's so crafty that he will put you in a place to where you will hear conversations. But although you hear these conversations about you, you got to step back and say, God, how should I view this conversation? Teach me how to discern and tune in with a different kind of ear. Because that conversation is actually a place to build you up, to cause you to rise above, not to make you fall down. He said, you the head and not the tail, that you shall rise above and not be underneath. But the enemy wants to put you underneath because he knows those areas where you are weak at. And so I'm telling you, trust what you may be facing and ask God, what do you want me to learn from this? How should I see this? How should I discern, or how should I hear what I'm hearing? Because if not, it's causing a shift in me. And God knows that, but sometimes he just want to have that communion with you. You having that conversation with him so that you can build this relationship even the more deeper place for where he's taking you. So what should you do when you feeling like you've been ignored? God is not listening. You're facing all kinds of different trials and tribulations and all kinds of things that just running over you and hitting you. Feel like you've been hit with a tons of brick. You begin to ask God for his wisdom. Ask God for greater understanding. Because again, the things that you are facing, you and I, God has a purpose for why we are facing these things. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declared the Lord. As the heaven are higher than the earth, so are my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55, verse 8 through 9. God knows what we need. And I know it's easy said than done because of what his word says. And to be a person having to face them. But if you go back and you replay some moments in your life where you felt like, man, you was going through some hard times and you felt like you wasn't going to come out of it. But look at the wisdom that came from what you went through. We can go for finance. Whatever mistake that you did between that time frame and you went through it and you came out of it and God blessed you to come out of it, you have the tools to tell your children, your grandchildren, your friends, your neighbors, what ways that is beneficial to keep you from falling into debt. What we have faced in the past, look at us now. We may have had those complaints, but we are a lot more wiser this time. We didn't gain some knowledge and some understanding. People can't come just tell us some craziness because we walked through it. We know the results that came from it. And I'm saying what you may be facing today, right now as I'm talking, you're going to see the results as you come out of it, while in it. Gain all the nuggets that you can. Why is this taking place? How can I look at it this way? What is some significance to these pieces? Am I doing something repeated? How did I find myself back in? And then sometimes it might not just be the fact that anything that you did, because we can go back and look at the story about Job. But it's a significant purpose to why things are happening and going about the way they are. Because God knows what we need. I want to provide some wisdom for those that may be facing some things right now, and for those that are already out of some situations and they are okay right now. When faced with situations or faced with different trials or anything, take time to recap. Recap what you just came out of. Because when you go back and you reflect, it gives you the ability to not make the same mistakes. It gives you the ability to see where you are at in level of your faith, or anything that you may have questions about your character. You know, did I get frustrated while I was in it? Did I become too anxious? What can I do different? When you begin to sit back and you analyze what you may have thoughts at that moment with the knowledge and understanding that you had versus after you came out of it, you begin to see, did I even grow some? Have I been doing the same repeated cycle? It is necessary to take time to pull back and reflect and analyze the behavior, the action, what you gained from out of it. What kind of movement did you take now that you out of it? Because you at peace, you out of it, you able to think straight. So now it's the time where you can go back and see all these different things. Each time you face with something, take time to go back and reflect. But not just wait until you go through something. Every day, I always make a point for myself. At the end of the day, I reflect. What could I have done different earlier today? What could I have said something different to a person? What did this person say to me that I can compartmentalize it and make it part of my daily life? I reflect at the end of my day because I don't know what my tomorrow brings. This allowed me to bring in some tools, some wisdom and nuggets and things from other people, as well as what I may experience, to bring it into my tomorrow, because my tomorrow might need or require of a little bit more wisdom. Stay encouraged and know that God has everything worked out in your favor. I'm going to close out, and when we come back, we're going to start with verses 5 through 11. So take time to read through, post on this message. If you want to add something, share something with someone. People can utilize what you have in your experience and something that you have recapped from either this message or in your own personal reading. As Jesus Christ loves you, I love you too. And everyone, be blessed.